Hi guys, I'm Dan. This will be my first YouTube video. I want to make it seem as pretty much raw and unedited as I can. Just out in my home gym, thought I'd hop on. I'm feeling motivated. It's been a very long time coming, but I finally worked up the courage to make the first video, and what will be hopefully a lot. So basically the aim of this is just to, spread awareness on mental health, autism in particular, some of the myths around it. I don't want it to be repetitive, like there's a lot of videos that are, quite the same. A lot of very good ones as well, like let's be honest, but I'm just hoping to put my own spin on things. Sorry if the camera's shaking a little, it's just on my phone. Hopefully get a bit of money together and get a proper recording studio, but that'll be way down the line. And I'm rambling already, but I'm going to try and make this as brief as possible because there'll be more to come, but this will be like an intro video. So in my bio I've mentioned it, but yeah, I'm autistic. I was diagnosed age 7 with autism spectrum disorder, ASD. Used to be known as Asperger's syndrome, but it's no longer recognised as that. And I have comorbid anxiety, so yeah, diagnosed quite young, which was both a blessing and a curse in many ways, because like you do often get a list of what you can't do as opposed to what you can do. You know, anyone who's autistic who watches this will probably know what I mean. And I was met with a lot of that. So like I've played rugby all my young and adult life. Now I stopped for about a year because of depression just basically getting out of hand, you know. It was just too difficult. Anyone who has severe depression will know what that's like. That's something I'll discuss as well at a later date, but this is just kind of an intro to introduce myself, and then I'll make more specific videos. There's actually something that I've been thinking of for a while. How am I going to do the intro? You know, I can't just start with different topics. I want to make an introduction video and just kind of put it out there for everybody to see, and then hopefully like reach out and start a conversation, because I just feel like there's a lot of misinformation out there. And look, there's a lot of people who are taking it upon themselves to give out advice and also share their story, and because of people like that, I've been able to relate and go, oh right, so that's not just me, you know. And that's a good thing. That's really good that people are out there just letting you know you're not alone, and you know, reach out. And also like, because a lot of videos, obviously I'm Irish, and I find a lot of times there's a lack of representation. So the stats would say that a lot of young Irish men are, I have to be careful what I say on YouTube, but you know, ending it all. Let's put it like that. And yet we always just say, "Nah, I'm grand." That's something we throw around a lot. Like, how many people do you know when you ask, "How are you?" "Oh, I'm grand." Yeah, I mean, anyone who's not Irish won't understand it, but we say it a lot, and it's often not the case, or clearly it's not for a lot of people. And I just thought, like, put a familiar voice. If you can relate to someone and you recognise the accent and the voice, it's just easier for you to relate to them and then to maybe open up and share your story. So I hope that helps, and I'm not saying that anyone else who shares their story hasn't been hugely helpful to me, but it's also like, if you hear someone with your accent, you're kind of like, oh right, so they're more relatable and I can just understand them a bit better. And like that, I hope to help people in any way I can, and reach out to me, if you've got any suggestions for videos, or any ideas, you just want to open the conversation, feel free. And hopefully this channel grows. I'm fingers crossed. It's going to be just a start. So yeah, just a little bit about myself before I make future videos. So yeah, I got into playing rugby at a young age 7. Obviously got a diagnosis at age 7 as well, so it's kind of difficult. Like, my mum pushed me quite a bit to get into sport, and that's a good thing. I've played quite a few, and I'd like to make a video about that, but I've played rugby mostly, football or soccer, played Gaelic football, hurling, and done boxing as well, Olympic weightlifting. So given quite a few things a try, and I swear by cold water swims, they have lifted my mood so much, because it's just like the natural antidepressant, you know what I mean? And I'll definitely make a video about them, because that's like one of the best antidepressant out there. Like, nothing even comes close. It's just if you can force your head under as well. It's actually scientifically proven that it helps you out. Now, don't start going and, you know, I've heard of people doing the Wim Hof method, or Wim Hof, however you want to pronounce his name, but yeah, just be careful, and I'm not giving any advice on that, but if you go out and do cold water swims, then it definitely can boost your mood. I'm just saying it's worked for me so much, but I'm getting off track already. That'll be something you'll notice with me, as I ramble a lot. But I was just basically offered antidepressants from such a young age. Before that, Ritalin, because I was quite agitated when I was young. Just all over the place, really, you know. I was extremely anxious. Like, my diagnosis is ASD and comorbid anxiety, so very young to be anxious, like, when you think about it, isn't it? Like, but I absolutely am. I've always been an anxious person. Like, it runs in the family. It's just something that, like, you'll really notice. I get very self-conscious because, like, I'll shake and I'll sweat and I won't be able to catch my breath. So, like, the creep in the corner who's sweating buckets and shaking and heavy breathing, it's like, oh my god, I look like such a weirdo, but I'm conscious of that, you know. And then I'm like, oh, how do I make it stop? And now, like, as I know, a lot of those were panic attacks, and that's something, like, a lot of people get, and it's just very hard to deal with it in the moment. Like I say, I was really just thinking, how am I going to make this video, but I just wanted to talk about my experience, so I'm going to say that just to keep me on track. But you'll notice my tease, I'm Irish at the end of the day. Please don't judge me, but I stopped myself there. As I got into my teens, so I'd say 15 was when I got first prescribed Prozac, fluoxetine, and yeah, it's kind of tricky. So, like, I used to get into trouble like quite a bit at school for fighting with other kids, but it was usually provoked. It's very rare that I'd have a fight with a kid if I was unprovoked. A lot of times I just wanted to be left alone. You know, if you're there and you're a quiet kid like I was, oftentimes you're just left in the corner to, you know, sit there, don't bother anybody else, or people are uncomfortable with it. So, like, if you become a problem, they throw you in the corner on your own to be quiet. But if you're sitting in the corner not bothering anybody quietly, then it's almost like people are uncomfortable with that. I don't know how else to explain that, but it definitely is something that I've experienced, where people think you're a weirdo and they start annoying you, but then when you react to it, it's almost like, oh, you should know better. I got told that so much when I was younger. You should know better. Like, why should I know better? I'm autistic, you know. I'm supposed to be special needs, but then you expect me to know better than other kids who are picking on someone twice their size. It's kind of like, shouldn't they know better? So a lot of behavioural issues, a lot, and not many friends growing up, which is quite common with autism. we're really getting into the nitty gritty now. But yeah, no, it was difficult. And then at 15, I guess everything kind of happened, like being diagnosed with depression, being given Prozac, struggling with that, but also being invited out to parties. So I start drinking way too young, like 14. And I remember being drunk at 15 and loving that feeling. That was literally the first time where I didn't feel anxious. So alcohol is something I definitely want to touch on a bit more. But I want to just touch on a couple of things here, introduce it, explain why it's important, because alcohol has in many ways opened me up, but it's also, you know, nearly destroyed me. And I've tried to end it all, and I'll get into that as well in a later video. But 15, a rugby coach that I had wouldn't allow me go for a rugby trial. I don't know if I would have made it either way. You know, it's, you can be bitter about it, but if I'm being truthful, I don't think I would have been able to cope with the pressure. But it was something keeping me on the straight and narrow. Training, you know, that always has kept me on the straight and narrow. And then I wanted to play for Ireland. I didn't really care about playing for Leinster or any of the provinces in Ireland. It was just, I want to play for Ireland. That was a goal. And when that opportunity was, well, not to play for Ireland, like I'm being a bit dramatic here, but you know, when there's a pathway and it's so hard to get selected. So that goal, I was kind of like, if I don't get seen here and get given a trial, I'm never going to be seen, and I've wasted my life basically. So I started smoking, drinking, just not, you know, looking after myself, and that's when I guess the real mental health problems started, like with the again, I want to be careful what I say on YouTube, but the thoughts of ending it all, put it that way, they start really creeping in. And then that's when the serious worry for my mum with getting in trouble with the, nearly getting in trouble with the law. And not that I was a bad kid, but I was a troubled kid. And I was acting out for sure. I just was, I didn't care who I was hanging out with, so I'd no standards for that sort of thing. It was just kind of like, you know, whoever wants to be my friend, even if they're going to use me, I don't care. To hell with it. So there was a lot of guys who would buy me or give me cigarettes and weed, and I thought to myself, oh well, they can't be that bad. And they just rip into me the whole time, and I just thought to myself, oh, you know, these guys make me feel like shit, and they're saying, oh, we're only messing, like, stop being so soft. And that just triggered memories of my dad. He used to say that all the time, and expression that I hate, man up. I do think we need to be tough as well. You know, you can't have everything your own way, and I firmly believe that. But I'm here to kind of discuss it. You know, they say a problem shared is a problem halved. So yeah, just like I say, I've discussed so many ways, and I've written down so many different ways I was going to give an intro, but I guess it's got to be raw. It's got to just be me, and I'm hoping that somebody relates to this story. And like I say, future videos will come. What I hope to really discuss is mental health will be one. So depression, my experience, I can only speak for myself. Autism, that'll be a big one, because that's something I know all about, and that'll be a separate one. And then like sport, I think I'll just include a video about sport in general, and then rugby, I'll probably give that a separate one because it's been more prevalent in my life. And something I've done, I only started last year, was coaching. And I'm not being funny, that saved my life. Because I was in such a dark place, not playing rugby. You know, my body was just shot. When you're depressed, and I'm not slating anyone's depression or saying, you know, you weren't really depressed. But what I'm talking about here is something that just comes on and it lasts for weeks. And there's no event necessarily tied to it, but just intense feelings of guilt. And it's crippling, to say the least. It's just so hard to do anything really, to function, to get out of bed. And I'm so happy that I was able to get out of bed and drag myself places, even though I didn't want to. It was so important to do it. And that's the thing, you just want to push yourself, and believe me, it will stand to you in the long run. And then like courses that have really helped me as well is something I'll definitely do separate videos for them. So cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT, dialectical behavioural therapy, DBT, and my favourite, compassion focused therapy, CFT. That was brilliant, and I met a good group of friends in that, and I really hope in future to get them on the show as well, because they have their own separate mental illnesses, and I think the more stories that we share, the better. You know, just to get it out there and to talk, start a discussion about it, I think it'd be very important. And I just think that we can reach out to each other, because I know, like, I've opened up a video for someone I've no dealings with. I don't know them, they're in another part of the world, but just hearing their story is like, oh, I know I'm not the only one now. And isn't that such a nice feeling to have? It's great, it really is, knowing that you're not alone, and knowing there's somebody else out there who's going through the same shit you're going through. I probably have to be careful about swearing as well, but difficulty just in your life. We all go through a lot of stuff in our lives, and it's not nice. Life isn't supposed to be easy, but at the same time, you need people there for you. You can't do it on your own. And like all the bad things and negativity we hear around social media, I think the one positive thing that I've taken from it is that I can reach out to someone across the world and talk to them. We don't know each other personally, but I can reach out to them and they can relate to me and tell me their story, and it's just nice to have that. It's just something to relate to somebody that knows what you're going through, because people who don't experience true medical depression, now I was diagnosed with endogenous depression. It just means, it's an old term, I was told it was the doctor saying that is quite unusual. MDD, major depressive disorder, is what it is, if I'm not mistaken. And I definitely will make a separate video discussing all of that. But to touch on it briefly, it just means it recurs. There's no like obvious trigger. There could be something, and there can be a trigger for it, but it just means that it's within you, and unfortunately you will have that for the rest of your life. It's not a death sentence, it just means you need to be careful with what you put in your body, like depressants and different drugs. Something for sure I'd like to discuss, and my journey with college, my journey with school. Neither were easy, but for different reasons, and I don't want to ramble anymore. So I hope somebody gets something from this intro, and there'll be more to come, and I really hope to discuss stuff with yourselves, whoever's out there listening, and hopefully make the channel grow. So cheers guys, it's video one out of the way. God, the nerves before it were unreal. So if you've listened this far, thanks very much, and talk to you later. And hopefully next video will gonna try and make one every week. Hopefully just get one out each week. And if you've got any ideas for topics, as I said, leave them in the comments below. Can you tell I've studied a lot of YouTube videos? Not advertising yet, but hopefully, in the future, let's see. Cheers lads and ladettes.